We embark on a journey that will bring us 1 billion times closer to Titan's surface. Titan is Saturn's largest moon, right in front of Saturn's disk in this image taken by the Cassini spacecraft. Saturn's atmosphere shows a banded structure and a number of storms. We view the edge of Saturn's gigantic ring system. The rings cast major shadows onto Saturn's southern hemisphere. Titan is surrounded by a partially transparent brown haze. Features on Titan's surface appear. The dark regions along Titan's equator are mostly dune fields. The brighter regions are highlands a few hundred meters high. Images taken from the Huygens probe show Titan's surface in more detail. The probe had spectrometers that measured small variations in the color of Titan's surface that are exaggerated here. Most of Titan's surface is brown. North of the landing site, a pair of parallel dark dunes stretch east-west along the image. A large highland of triangular shape lies to the northwest. More and more dark canyons appear in this area, a complicated network of channels where rivers of methane flowed at some time in the past. To the east of the landing site is a system of bright ridges, standing out above the dark, dry lake bed. The ridges have intricate structures that tell stories about their past. The Huygens probe descended toward one of these ridges. As we approach the surface further, we can see this ridge in finer detail. Some regions were imaged with high resolution just before Huygens landed on Titan, especially the area to the west of the landing site. Most of Titan's surface is covered by dark organics that are produced in the atmosphere and slowly settle down. The bright spots may be exposed patches of water ice. The white dot in the center of the image is the landed Huygens probe. While the probe rotated during the descent, its orientation after landing had the camera looking to the south. The camera saw a field of pebbles that were carried around by a river of methane in the past. Some pebbles are larger than a human hand. The Descent Imager Spectral Radiometer is the dark green instrument at the south side of the Huygens probe. Its lamp illuminated the surface, allowing spectral analysis. The lamp's spotlight stands out brightly since days on Titan are even darker than cloudy days on Earth. Little sunlight reaches Titan's surface due to its thick haze and large distance from the sun. The right side shows the green Dizzer instrument, with the gold-colored lamp and the 3 camera windows to its right, the cameras that provided the first close-up view of Titan's shrouded surface.
Well, we're live now, and I just want to make sure with everybody that we are got good audio, good video. What do you think, everyone?
No echo. No echo.
I don't hear anything.
No echo, echo, echo. No answer either. Oh, wait a minute. Sounds good now. Everything's good. Okay. Well, today, of course, you've got Jerry Hubble here with you on the OpenGOTO Community Live. Tyler Bowman comes to us from out there in the reaches of the universe to work with us in customer service, and he is going to be on Virtual Star Party, Global Virtual Star Party 4. Okay, so that's really exciting. He'll talk about that a little bit later. And I was able to get the chat box to appear on the bottom of the page, so I don't know if that looks good to you guys or not, but it doesn't hide our video, I guess. And I think I've finally got my act somewhat together. So, and now we just got to have this start party, which is going to be a lot of fun, actually. So, um, we have a few things that we do need to cover today, and we'll get right into it with Jerry, and he's going to talk about the PMC-8 and the power draw of PMC-8 and battery usage and such.
Yeah, so we had some questions today about, well, we've had them every once in a while, but Bob Hoskins was talking about the power system and how much power it drew, and he did a measurement on his Exos 2 PMC-8 machine. He saw with his instrument from 1 to 1.3 amps, or 1,000 to 1,300 milliamps, which seems pretty high to me. It should be around half of that or less. So I talked to Alex Sanchez, who's our quality control manager, and he, or the director of quality management, and he measured it, Exos 2, and actually he measured the G11, which is the larger motors, and he got even less than that. He said typically when you turn the PMC-8 on and you don't connect, and it's not connected to Explore Stars, that you'll get around 350 milliamps. That's when there's no tracking going on or anything. It's just sitting there quiescent. And then when you connect up the Explore Stars and start tracking, it jumps up to around 450 milliamps or 500 milliamps, somewhere around there for the G11, which should be similar to the Exos 2, which is what I've seen in the past. And then when you're tracking or when you're slewing, it goes up a little bit more. So I would expect it to be around, at the worst case, 600 to 700 milliamps. But he did say it did jump up also if you were to, while it's tracking, if you were to push on the mount. It does draw a little bit more current, but again, the motor system is different than a DC servo, so it doesn't go up in proportion to the torque, in proportion to provide the motion. The current is limited in the PMC-8 through the firmware, and the signal's a lot different. It's not a constant DC voltage like a servo motor would get. So in that regard, it's not the same, and it doesn't draw more power the more torque it provides. It's basically limited to a certain amount all the time, so and it's constant pretty much. So I've still got some information. Wes McDonald said he would do a measurement on his Exos 2 for me and get back to me, so I'm going to be posting that information. But I've talked to Wes before, and I expect it will be around 6 to, generally you could say it draws around between 600 and 800 milliamps, depending on the firmware. Now, the latest firmware, I did increase the motor current during a slew to provide a little more oomph for that. So it could be up to 900 milliamps for both motors slewing at the same time, I would say, but it shouldn't be, that should be the highest it ever gets.
So what could make, Jerry, what do you think could possibly make it be drawing, so much power?
Well, if there is some failure going on in the board, which would cause it to draw more current, like if one of the voltage regulators was starting to fail for some reason and drawing a lot more power, but then you'd get a lot more heat, you would definitely feel it on the system. It would get warmer. You would feel a lot of heat, and possibly if the motors are failing somehow, and they were actually, but again, the current is controlled on the circuit board, so even if the motors were to short out, it still limits the power going to the motor. So I don't think if the motor failed, you would see it. The other thing it might be, which maybe his measurement circuit, what he's using to measure the current is not correct for some reason. It's not accurate. So
it'll be interesting to get to the bottom of that.
yeah, there really isn't a whole lot that can go wrong that would cause the motor current to increase and it still operate correctly. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There has to be some failure mode that we haven't really seen yet that would cause the increase in the current and it would still operate correctly.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
There's been people are asking about what instruments to use to measure the current, and where. I think there's clamp-on ammeters that you can get that are real low range that you just put around the 12-volt line coming into the PMC-Eight.
Mm-hmm.
That's a clamp-on type of ammeter. There's inline meters that you could buy to plug in, and those are more accurate, probably. So.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tyler, let's go to you here, and you're going to be all set up. It's clear tonight, right?
I need a telescope. That's the issue, because I brought back a 115 back to you guys because we were going to send one out to a customer.
Behind me here.
I can, if you would let me, yes. But yeah, I can set
You'll
up.
have to fight me for it, but yeah. I'll probably lose, but
If you drop it, it's got a warranty on it. If you drop it, he'll replace it.
That's right.
Okay, he'll replace it.
Your brother that has a steamroller, if he flattens it on the road or something,
Is that the Jerry Hubble warranty on that one?
Yeah. So
yeah,
but there's no shortage of telescopes around here. So
No, there's not.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. So if you do get out and you do image, what do you think you'll try to get?
I would try to get probably the Heart Nebula or the Soul Nebula.
Okay.
I'm going to try out the L Extreme filter, which will block out the H alpha, or not block out, but block out everything but H alpha into O3, and see what I can get on that.
And who makes that L Extreme? Where do you get?
It's Optilong.
Optilong. Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, I've heard some good things about it. So
yeah, I love the L Enhance, and this one's supposed to just block out everything but the HA and O3, but the L Enhance did the beta, alpha, and O3.
All those filters, I mean, they just do such an amazing job. They do things that we only could have dreamed about back in the 1980s and 90s and maybe to the early 2000s, So astrophotographers have a lot more reach. They can mitigate a lot of the problems with light pollution. It really is it's a new age for amateur astrophotographers to make really high quality stuff. And we're seeing it. That shot, that 100-hour long exposure that we saw was just amazing. So just amazing. I want to call out some of the people that I don't want to call them out, but I want to recognize some of the people that are online with us today. We've got Ron Delvaux. I've been chatting with him a little bit. He's been showing me some of his gear. Richard Grace, who's going to be on tonight. I think he's getting all set up. James, the astrophotographer, if he got off work, hopefully he can set up tonight. Mike Wiesner, hoping for a non-repeat of Monday's hiccups. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Scott, your audio is going in and out for some reason.
Is it really?
Yeah, a little bit.
How about that?
How about that?
How about that?
How about that?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I got
right now.
I guess I got to put them right now. Okay. I'm looking at the sound. It's just like pinging, smashing up against the.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I think when you turn your head,
it might have been.
It's really directional microphone, I guess.
I have a very directional voice, so.
Like a laser beam. Like a laser beam.
Like a laser beam, exactly. That's right. Dusty Haskins is on with us. Brett Blake. Michael Whitaker. Michael, how's everything going? I'm really curious as to whether or not you got everything worked out with your system. So, Wolfgang, good evening together. Greetings from Germany. Tomek Tis is what it looks like, TIS. Hi from Poland. That's cool. Excellent. Brett Blake, John Kia, Chuck Staw is with us, Eduardo Simone. Afternoon all, listening on the car Bluetooth on the way home from work. Good. Don't be using the video if you got, Eduardo, you're driving, right? David Ing, hello from California. Great to hear you out there. Hope you're avoiding fires, David, and the smoke. Let's see. Tyler Bowman is on. Oh, he's right there. Okay.
Look, Jerry Hubble's logged in too. Look
Jerry
at that.
Hubble, yeah, I'm logged in too. Dilip Sharon says, yep. Scott Edens and Wade Prunty, I hear a smoke alarm battery chirp. That means everything's good. That's our test for our audio system.
There's some chirps coming from Scott's side too. I hear him. I've got my microphone turned off.
There are no chirps in here. That's all. That's the chirp ringing in your head, Jerry. After all those years.
I've got my microphone turned off, so you couldn't hear anything.
You know you hear that in your sleep, right? Brett Blake says, sounds good, Scott. He said it sounded good, and he's an expert. Jason Callback, just set up my Exos 2. Love it. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you. They're calling him 100-Hour Wade now. That's his new nickname. We're just going to have to start picking nicknames for everybody. 100-Hour Wade. I like that. Tomic says, today we watch A Crab with the moon. So we must have a little conjunction going on there. Tim Myers says he's on the tablet today. It's better than being on the pill. Sorry. Let's see. Got messages at the bottom, Scott. Thanks. Miles better. Thanks, Michael. Let's see. Jeff Wise wants to know, would a heat camera help identify the failed part? What do you think, Jerry?
Yes, you could compare, as long as you got a baseline when you know it's working correctly and it's got the proper currents. If you suspect a problem later on, then you could take an image, a thermal image, like with the FLIR Systems camera, and compare them for sure.
Yeah, if you got something like that, it would be really cool. Jerry, could there be a bleed through from circuit to circuit causing a higher current reading?
The driver circuitry on the motor system are separated pretty well. There'd have to be a physical defect in the circuit board for anything like that to happen. It could happen if you've dropped it, or if you've somehow dropped a rock in the circuit board with it open. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what circumstance would cause that. That's the thing,
A rock throwing contest might cause that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Astronomers throwing rocks at each other.
The design of the system
with the cover open, right?
Yeah, right. If the cover's open, it's still protected fairly well. The design of the circuitry, it's a digital system, so you don't really have, it's not like an analog motor DC servo or DC motor system. It's not like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that would be very probable.
Okay. Let's see. Well, lots of people like the L-enhanced filter, especially Astrobeard. We have Dilip is from Stormy Milton Keynes. Did I pronounce that right? I don't know. England. That's very cool. David Samard says hi from New Brunswick, Canada. And Michael Whitaker says he has not had a chance yet to try it out. Cloudy every night since. Wouldn't you know it? Jeff Wise, not avoiding any smoke here in Northern California. Yeah. Gary Palmer is on with us from the UK. Hello, guys. Gary's going to be on with us tonight, so you might want to try to get some rest there, Gary. And Gary Palmer replying to Tyler Bowman. I am good. Thanks, Tyler. Let's see. James the astrophotographer, got to start loading up the truck. Head out to start setting up the gear for tonight. See you all at the star party this evening. That's great, James. We're looking forward to it. And Brett Blake says he used to do QC on circuit boards. Cold solder joint maybe. A circuit bleed over. Circuit bleed over? Question mark. I doubt it. Steve?
Yeah, cold solder joint would typically, if it's on one of the processor signals, it would interrupt the processor in some way, and you would not get full functionality probably. Just the motor current, just the amount of current draw on the off the main power line coming in, the 12 volts coming in, it's, if everything's working correctly, then you probably don't have any kind of cold solder joint. So I don't know.
Okay. Michael Donaldson says, is there a reason why so many astronomy projects are on backorder for all manufacturers? I've heard more supply than normal, customs holding up orders, and COVID slowing down production overseas. Michael, it is absolutely because of the pandemic. You have to understand, most of these factories are in China, and they shut down for about 2 months, completely shut down. No transportation of any kind really going on. No supply chain happening. All the factories run down, and they're all feeding the materials and stuff. So, it's like you have this giant ship, and you brought it to a dead stop. And, and you need to get it all going again. And, all the people need to be hands on deck. You need to fuel back up. You need, it's all of those things. And so, and on top of that, precision telescopes take a long time to manufacture. We wait sometimes 9 months to get the glass that we want for our telescopes. Once we have the glass, then, once you have all the parts and everything, it's really about a 8-week process okay, if everything is in place. But it is waiting for parts. And, a lot of people, Michael, they think that the telescope manufacturing industry must be like, I don't know, making motorcycles or something. Many, 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 many thousands of motorcycles are sold every year. And if you look at telescopes, it's just in the hundreds per model, generally speaking. So it's not, it is, the telescope manufacturing industry is more like a cottage industry than it is a high-end industrialized type of manufacturing. They are in all the telescopes from toys all the way up to telescopes made for small observatories and universities and stuff, like the stuff that we have, all made by hand, every one. So there's no machines out there, no robotics, and when you get to the point of where you're making a instrument that's diffraction limited, it's, if you could stand over an optician's shoulder and say, okay, well, when is it going to be done? He would just turn around and say, it's going to be done when it's done. Because he would be working the part, he would be inspecting that part, he would be checking it again, maybe it needs repolishing, there's just a zillion things that can fail your completed assembly as well, and you just start all over again. So it's not a fast process. So that's the deal. Ron Delvo, have you gotten feedback in any way from the competition regarding OpenGOTO and that others may adopt the same? Isn't someone copying you isn't someone copying you a great thing? I don't know. Maybe the jury's not out yet. Maybe open source is not the way to go. I believe it is.
Open source, there is open source projects for telescope equipment. Skywatcher, the EQ mod is a great example of that. EQ mod supports the Cinta mount systems. The Skywatcher and the Orion mounts, the EQ6. So that's been around for at least, I got into that in 2010. So it's been around for almost 15 years, probably 12 to 14 years, I think, is how long that's been around. So that was an open source project that somebody started. They developed a module to talk the command language for the SynScan controller, I think is what they use, is what it's called on the Skywatcher and Orion mounts.
Yeah.
And I think they reverse engineered the command language and just started building EQ mod with ASCOM as the ASCOM driver.
Right. Well,
that was not sponsored by the manufacturer at all. I think the trend was set by Meade and Celestron in the fact that they just allowed the community to develop the ASCOM drivers. They didn't spend money. I know Meade didn't for a fact. Their ASCOM drivers always been open source, and they've never directly supported it in any way. So you could say from the beginning, the ASCOM portion of this stuff has always been open source. It's just that recently, in the last 5 to 10 years, manufacturers have been providing the ASCOM drivers instead of waiting for their customers to develop them. I think that's part of that. Because when we released our product, we wanted to make sure the ASCOM driver was available. We didn't want to dump it out into we couldn't compete if we didn't have an ASCOM driver at all because of the everything that's out there already.
Right.
So going forward, the manufacturers have to release their products with an ASCOM driver. And so that's kind of reversed the trend early on. Early on it was open because the customers were doing it. And then once the manufacturers started doing it, then there's no open anymore. It's just what they provide. So I think we're bucking the trend right now because the trend is to be more closed source since for the last 5 to 10 years.
One thing I can tell you about, if it is closed and you have everything proprietary, okay, you do not have to do as much support for your customers. Okay, that's one part of it. Okay, because you make it open source, you want everybody to be successful, right? And so you help them as much as they can. But I think that we've talked about this a lot of times before. I think that over the long term, that if the community has taken ownership of software that drives a platform, I think that it's just it can have much longer life, much longer life than any manufacturer wants to or can afford to put into one, so that's part of it.
Especially if the hardware can support it. If somebody's bought this system, and kept it for 15 years and it still works.
Right.
They want to be able to know that the software is still available. That there's software out there that's being developed that's new.
That's right. And it could be one day that we go to a completely different platform, but it'd be nice to know that stuff that we sold 10, 15, 20 years ago is still going strong. So, you know, let's see, what else do we got here? Wolfgang wants to know, and maybe you got some advice for this, Jerry, which oil is best for the worm? We assume you're talking about the worm in your drive.
Yeah. Yeah, don't feed your worm too much. You use olive oil to
Yeah,
feed
olive
your worm.
oil might be good. Now, what I used to use a lot was white lithium grease. But, I was not in super extreme cold weather. I know there are special greases for that. Um, and it's all about
Right.
trying to get the right viscosity for the environment. So,
That's right. I think we had a question in one of our early episodes about this, and Kent talked about it some.
yeah,
Of course, we
yeah.
don't remember which one it is, but
I'm
but
sure there's long,
uh,
drawn out
but
discussions and recommendations on cloudy nights over this.
oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yep. That might be but white lithium grease, if you're, if it's not getting super cold, if you're not in, minus 30 or minus 40 temperatures, white lithium's a good choice. So, let's see. Tim Myers, only 3 hours sleep last night. Hope I can stay awake for tonight's star party. It's going to be a good star party. Kelly Beatty's going to give this great talk, this 7-part series on the past, present, and future of amateur astronomy. So, and he's been into it for a very long time as one of the senior editors of Sky and Telescope magazine. So it's going to be pretty cool. David Levy's going to give his talk as he does. David's really kind of wrapped himself around this star party, I think. He loves, reading poetry, and but he always seems to couch the right things to say to get the star party going. So, gosh, if only every star party could have David Levy to open it, that'd be so cool. Let's see. Chalk Star says he's off and will set up for the star party. Apparently, the clouds are at 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. Hope they're clear. Brett Blake, cold cider cold cider gent are easy to spot in QC. Oh, cold solder joint. Okay, sorry. So I doubt that too. Let's see. Jerry, wouldn't a bad ground cause an increase in amperage? What do you think?
If the ground is shorted or a partial short to ground from the power, that would increase the current draw for sure. An open ground or some other kind of ground loop, it'd be hard to say how it would impact the power. The power, the 12 volts coming in from the battery or the AC adapter goes into voltage regulator, directly into a voltage regulator after it passes through the over voltage protection device, or the reverse polarity protection, I should say. It could be the reverse polarity protection device could be failing, causing it to draw more power. Although it's supposed to be very, very low resistance. It's a MOSFET that's designed for that purpose, that once it latches on, it's a very, very low resistance. But it could be failing, causing more heat dissipation. But that would generally cause the voltage to drop into the regulator. I don't know that it would actually draw more power. So I don't know. I don't know if a ground problem would actually cause that in this circuit.
Okay. Ken Noble says, if anything, an electrolytic capacitor's ESR increasing. An electrolytic capacitor's ESR increasing. Perhaps the external power supply, ? Long shot. Defective DVM or current meter.
Yeah, that's what I would suspect. Just the measurement is not quite accurate for some reason.
Okay.
especially if there's no heat extra, if it's not getting hot and it's working correctly. It's designed to do its, it's working, its design function, and it's working correctly. There's no reason for it to draw extra power.
Okay. Well, it would be very interesting to actually see it, so. Okay. Caesar Brello, great explanation, Scott. You showed us last year the Draper, the Draper, the equipment in the factory. When you make surfaces for astronomical optics, the velocity of polishing is proportional inverted to quality. Now, Caesar knows about optical polishing. He's polished a lot of optics. That's his background. He's going to be on our show tonight. Loves the sky, but certainly a big expert on optics. Wade Prunty, Explore Scientific, are y'all going to release ASCOM alpaca support? Question mark.
Yeah, we are. We are going to have an alpaca version of. Actually, you can use alpaca with our driver today.
There you go.
I haven't worked on that configuration. You have to set it up, but there is today a way to use alpaca cross-platform with our existing driver. That's what it's designed for. There's a module that's included with the platform that allows you to use existing drivers today with alpaca, which is basically a network cross-platform network protocol to be able to use your telescope system.
Okay. Question for Jerry. Is there a lunar tracking setting on Explore Stars for iPad? I'm doing lunar sketching and need good tracking at high power.
There is. It's kind of a deficiency in the interface. We don't have a pull-down selection like on the ASCOM driver when you can select the sidereal or the lunar or the solar rate. You have to enter a value into the rate under the preferences or under the settings. I have to look at the tablet to see exactly what it is. But if under the settings, you'll see a value for like the IXOS 2 and the IXOS 100. It's set to 48. What that 48 is, that's the number of microsteps per second. And in the programmer's reference manual, I can bring it up. There's a value that you set up in there. Let me bring that up, Scott. Hold on a minute.
Okay. Okay. Are you getting it?
Yeah, I just brought up the program's reference. I'm going to share my screen now.
Okay.
All right, can you all see that?
Not yet. There we go. There we go.
All right, so let me scroll down to where all this is at. Typically, there it is right there.
Okay.
So these are the values right here on the lower right box for the IXOS 2 and the IXOS 100. So if you want the lunar rate, instead of 48, you would put in 46.24.
There you go.
And then what's nice about this is that, I mean, it's a little tedious to do that instead of just selecting lunar off of a pull down. But what's nice about it is if you know the tracking, like for example, you want to track a comet or some other object that's none of this, right? You can calculate a value based on this formula. If you know how the object is moving across the sky in RA, then you can calculate a custom rate for it and put that in, and it will track the comet or whatever other object you might have, a near-Earth asteroid or something that you want to track.
Yeah. Boy, there's been a lot of those this year.
Yeah, I've got a story about one to talk about too.
Do you?
You want to do that now or
Yeah.
later?
Talk about it, man. You got me hanging on a cliff.
Okay. Well, this weekend, let me see if I can find it. This weekend, there was a tiny asteroid that came by that was the closest flyby on record. This is a story from Science News, Science Daily. I don't know if anybody heard about it, but near-Earth asteroids, or NEAs, pass by our home planet all the time. But an SUV-size asteroid, which is pretty small, set the record this past weekend for coming closer to Earth than any other known NEA. It passed 1,830 miles above the southern Indian Ocean on Sunday, August 16th at 12:08 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At roughly 10 to 20 feet across, 3 to 6 meters, asteroid 2020 QG is a very small by asteroid standards. If it had actually been on an impact trajectory, it would likely have become a fireball as it broke up in Earth's atmosphere, which happens several times a year. So apparently we were able to detect this thing before it actually hit, because this happens quite a bit, probably during the year, like it said, several times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So by some estimates, there are hundreds of millions of small asteroids the size of 2020 QG, but they're extremely hard to discover until they get very close to the Earth. The vast majority pass by safely at much greater distances, usually much further away than the moon.
Well, something that small would probably, I think the article says it would burn up.
What's that?
Anyways, right? So hopefully would burn up.
Oh yeah, that will burn up for sure.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
But yeah, there's lots of stuff out there. There's a lot of dust that falls down. One of the little kids' science projects that we did one time as an outreach activity is we got just a household mop, like a sponge mop, and we took the sponge off and we put magnets, just to strip magnets underneath it, and then we wrapped it with like saran wrap, and you can go out to a parking lot and just kind of clean an area, okay? Clean it all down and everything. You'll see all kinds of metal filings and stuff on it, okay? And then you can take the wrap, and then you got a sample, okay? You go out there just a few days later, okay, and do the same thing. You're going to get more metal filings, okay? And that some of that, anyways, is meteoric dust. And so, we eat it, breathe it, we are it, so.
That'd be a bumper sticker. We are it.
We are it. Yep. Daniel Sanchez has a question for you. Good afternoon. The latest generation of Type-C connectors are able to carry power, data, audio, and video simultaneously. Are you considering upgrades with your products to use less cabling?
So he's referring to USB Type-C, I believe. I guess we could. One of the things to consider with the mount, it's an instrument that's used outside in all kinds of conditions. So you really need a fairly robust connector, in my opinion, on these instruments. Even if you could do a much smaller connector, I don't know that you gain anything in terms of. I mean, what's the purpose? What were you trying to save with that in terms of the operation of the telescope mount or any other instrument that's involved? I mean,
it's not.
You got to think about it.
The operation is
in those terms.
Cable management. You got one nice cable, but here's the problem with one nice cable. If you forget that cable or it breaks out in the field, you're done. Right?
Right. Yeah.
I guess you could bring backups with you.
I mean, you can, if there's a Type C cable that will carry that stuff, like you said, it's a very custom type of cable. It's not readily available, perhaps. You want to be able to find any, like for an AC adapter or a battery pack, you want to use a standard barrel connector. Now, that's not to say 5 or 10 years if the standards change and nobody's using these or manufacturing these cables anymore, and they just go away, then yes, we have to change the design to support whatever's available at the time. But in general, I don't know that I would want to necessarily do that. Although you could create one cable that would provide, going into the mount, and then it would go out to the motors completely. I mean, you'd have one long cable harness. Basically, it'd be a harness that you would plug into the controller, and you plug into the motors. It'd be just one harness, one cable, like a harness that's in a car for wiring up stuff. And that would be the other type of way to do it. Now, the other thing people ask about is why aren't the cables being able to be run internally to the mount so you don't have any external cables at all? And that again talks to how flexible you want to be in your configuration and how flexible the design is going forward to adapt to different things. Anything that you design that's dedicated, that's a one use thing, it's not as flexible as what it could be, then it becomes more expensive for us because we can't mix and match things that we share design features for different mounts. We can't do that. We'd have to dedicate specific design for that mount type of thing. It would be manufactured just for that mount. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
Okay.
There's a lot of engineering trade-offs for this stuff, for sure.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Any other questions here? I don't want to miss anybody. Let me know if I miss you on a question.
Did anybody hear about that asteroid?
I did. I read it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Before it happened?
Not before. It was afterward.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Didn't they only detected it after it passed, right?
I think it was when it was very close, for sure. I mean,
a lot of, historically, near Earth crossing asteroids, most of the time we would only detect them after they passed us, and we go, whoa, that was close, so very difficult.
This is a very, it would have to be very close for this tiny asteroid to be seen before it hit the atmosphere, for sure. And it did come close. It was 1,800 miles. So, but there could be, every month one of those could be passing by and we don't know about it unless you're looking. That's the thing. We're not always looking for that stuff, I don't guess.
That's what you need amateur astronomers for, though,
That's right. And it has to be during the night. It can't be during the day. That's, half the day. Half the time we wouldn't see the thing during,
Right. Okay. So, well, I think that we're kind of towards the end of our talk here. We're not having a door prize for this show because we're kind of saving it up for the virtual star party. So we're going to give away multiple door prizes there. I know that OPT is going to have some prizes for you as well. They got some shirts and stuff like that. We're going to have certainly some eyepieces that we'll be giving away, and all of our door prizes from Explore Scientific are being sponsored by the Astronomical League, and so we really want to thank them for stepping up and being a partner in that. And we get started tonight at, we go live at 9 o'clock Central Time. Can't even say it. 9 o'clock Central Time. I'm already tired. Guys, I woke up so early this morning to get some stuff done, because I'm like, I get all hyped up when I do an event, so Jerry and I were joking about maybe getting a nap before, because it is a joke. I won't take a nap. I'll just drag through until, to the bitter end, and keep blabbing, keep my mouth moving.
Yeah, you'll do the opposite of taking a nap. You'll take a 5-hour energy drink.
That's exactly right.
Do the opposite.
Right. So, but if you want to join in to the virtual star party, all you have to do is go to explorescientific.com/events, and you can buy a $0. It's a free ticket, and you get a PDF download from that. It gives you instructions on where to go. You'll be sent off to a meeting room that's separate from the broadcast meeting room, and there Kent Martz he'll be waiting for you, and he'll check your audio and video quality and all of that, and make sure that you got enough internet speed for it, and then he will give you the credentials to get into the broadcast Zoom meeting, and then I'll see you in the waiting room and let you in as we go along. At the first part of this event, we have a talk by Kelly Beatty and David Levy. I'll do an introduction of the astronomers that are there. We go into all of our astronomers. Also, we will have a special talk by Sanil Buxton, and she is a research scientist at the Planetary Science Institute. So that's going to be very cool. So I'm really happy to have her on, as well as all the rest of our guests. It's going to be really cool. So hope you're watching. We had the last Star Party, we had great viewership. After the live broadcast, thousands of people watched it.
That's cool.
So it gives people a lot of good information. I think, as for myself, I would like to hear it live while I'm out observing. It would really give me a feeling like I'm actually out there with my buddies. So.
It's almost like an astronomical variety show. With all the different things.
I got to get some dancers and some singers and juggling act. Well, I do the juggling act.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyways, so let's bring Tyler back on here.
We didn't hear from Tyler.
We didn't let Tyler say anything.
I've been busy, guys. I have a job.
I noticed you would go away and then you would put up my logo. The letter S would come up, so.
That's right.
A lot of people think that's for Skype, but it's not. It's for Scott.
For Scott. Scott.
That's my distress signal.
That's right. Anyways, it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys drink some hot coffee or Red Bull or whatever you got to drink. We do have some. Let me look at these comments here. We still have comments. David Ing says, I heard of one that may come close or hit the day before the presidential election in November. Yikes. Gary Palmer.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that one too.
Really? Is there one it's just going to destroy the earth or something? Gary Palmer, isn't there one due on the day you go to vote? Replying to Gary Palmer the day before the election. Let's see. Staying up all night observing them working the next day was easy when I was young.
Yeah, it took a toll on me last time.
Here comes the storms. Hope they get it over with before the party. It's going to be clear, Richard. You got to will it. You got to manifest it. Okay?
Right.
So Wolfgang says, from tomorrow on, I'm on vacation without internet. So we'll see you next Monday. I think next Monday is our 60th show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mhm. That's good.
Yeah. And by the time we get to Gary Palmer, and I should talk about this because we're having the European virtual star party. And so, as I mentioned before, Gary's kind of leading the way there. And instead of our regular 4 o'clock show for the OpenGOTO community, it is going to be a star party show. And so those typically run 2.5, 3 hours. So, you'll get to see how they do it, in Europe, and it should be a lot of fun. So, and I think that is Jim Norwood says eyepieces are easier to juggle than OTAs or mounts. Just saying. I should get some guy to do like flaming OTAs or something,
Oh yeah, an OTA and an IP and your big hand grenade
G11
eyepiece,
mounts. That's right.
big 3-inch eyepiece along
3-inch
with your
eyepiece.
ED.
Just throw it in there, while the guy's trying to juggle. See if he can handle it. Yeah, you're not a real astronomer unless you can do that, that guys.
It's covered under warranty. You got a lifetime warranty.
Yeah, it's covered under warranty. Make sure it's registered though.
Yeah.
Anyhow, guys, thank you so much. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Thanks for fixing all my hiccups yesterday. I make enough of my own hiccups, okay, without having technical problems. And we will see you tonight. We're going to get a bite to eat, and maybe I say I'm going to shut my eyes, but I'm not. So we'll talk to you later, and thanks a lot, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.